If you ever camp in the Rocky Mountains and you see a tall man standing in the snow, don't look at him, don't move, just leave. I still remember that night as if it happened yesterday. My name is Ethan Brooks, and 3 years ago, I experienced something in the Rocky Mountains that I still can't fully explain. It was supposed to be a peaceful winter camping trip with my two best friends, Ryan and Cole, far away from the city noise. We were all experienced hikers, and we'd planned to spend a long weekend exploring the frozen wilderness near Silverthorne, Colorado. But what began as an adventure soon turned into the most terrifying night of our lives. The drive up the mountain was breathtaking. White peaks piercing the gray sky, pine trees dusted with snow, and the cold wind humming through the valleys. We reached the cabin we had rented. A small wooden place sitting at the edge of the forest. There was no signal, no neighbors for miles, just the whisper of snow falling outside. At first it felt peaceful, exactly what we wanted. But by the second night something changed. It started with strange noises coming from the woods. Not animals, but something heavier, slower, deliberate. That night around midnight, Ryan woke us up. He said he heard footsteps outside the cabin. We thought he was just being paranoid. After all, sounds echoed differently in the snow. But when we went quiet, we all heard it. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps moving slowly around the cabin. I turned off the lantern and we stayed still, watching through the frosted window. Under the dim moonlight, we saw a tall, dark figure standing near the tree line, motionless, almost blending with the shadows. He was extremely tall, at least 7 feet, maybe more. At first we thought it might be a hunter or a lost hiker, but then Ryan whispered, "He's holding something." Through the blur of snow I saw a faint glint, like metal catching moonlight. It looked like a sword, long and ancient looking. My heart started pounding. Cole tried to call out, but there was no response. The figure didn't move, didn't flinch, just stood there facing us for several minutes before slowly vanishing into the forest. None of us slept that night. In the morning we went outside to check, half expecting to find footprints. But what we saw froze us. There were deep boot marks in the snow circling the cabin several times. But the strangest part, the prints didn't lead anywhere. They just stopped, as if the man had disappeared into thin air. Ryan wanted to leave immediately, but Cole insisted we were just imagining things. We decided to stay one more night. That was a mistake. By late evening, a blizzard had rolled in. The wind howled through the trees, and the temperature dropped below freezing. Inside the cabin, the power flickered and died. Only our lantern kept the darkness away. Then from outside, we heard it again, the crunching steps, closer this time, circling faster. I peeked through the small window, and there he was again. This time I saw his face, or what looked like a face. It was pale, stretched unnaturally long, with hollow black eyes that didn't blink. Snow blew through him as if he wasn't fully solid. We locked the door, barricaded it with furniture, and stayed close to the fire. But then, 3 slow knocks echoed from the door. "Knock, knock, knock," Ryan whispered, trembling. "Who's there?" No answer, just silence. Then suddenly the knocks came again, harder this time. The entire door shook. When we looked through the peephole, there was no one there, only snow swirling wildly outside, and faint footprints appearing in the snow leading toward the woods. We stayed awake until dawn, too terrified to move. When morning came, everything was eerily quiet again. The footprints from the night before were there, leading into the dense forest. Against my better judgment, Cole suggested we follow them, just to see. I wish we hadn't. The footprints led deeper into the forest, winding through snow-covered pines and dead silence. The morning sun was weak, barely touching the white ground. We followed the prints for almost half an hour before we realized something was wrong. The trail didn't lead anywhere. It circled, crossed over itself, and kept returning to the same point. It was as if whoever made those prints had been walking in endless circles. around something invisible. Cole, being the most stubborn, decided to go farther. Ryan kept telling him to stop, that the snow was getting too deep and the storm might return, but Cole didn't listen. Then suddenly Ryan froze. He pointed at the trees ahead. There, between the branches, hung something, a piece of cloth, dark and frozen stiff. When we got closer, my heart nearly stopped. It wasn't cloth. It was a torn piece of a jacket, still zipped halfway, and underneath it, a rib cage sticking out of the snow. We backed away immediately. Ryan started muttering, "We need to go, now." But before we could turn, that sound came again. The crunch. Crunch, crunch, slow, deliberate behind us. I turned and there he was, the tall man, standing less than 30 feet away. His skin looked translucent now, bluish-white under the sunlight. He wasn't walking. He was gliding, his feet barely touching the snow. We ran. None of us said a word, just the sound of our boots pounding through the snow and our breath tearing through the frozen air. But the steps behind us didn't fade. They followed, perfectly in sync, never faster, never slower. Every time I looked back, he was there, the same distance away, his head tilted slightly like he was studying us. After what felt like forever, we finally saw the cabin. Ryan was the first to reach the door. He turned the handle, locked. He swore he hadn't locked it when we left. I fumbled for the key with shaking hands. When I looked up again, the man was right behind Ryan. I screamed his name, but before he could react, the man grabbed his shoulder. Ryan's body stiffened instantly. His eyes went wide and his skin turned pale like frost. Within seconds, his body collapsed into the snow, frozen solid. Cole and I pulled him inside and shut the door. Ryan's eyes were open, his face frozen in terror. I tried CPR, screaming his name, but it was useless. His body was cold as ice, his breath gone. That's when we heard it, a whisper. It came from outside the window, faint but clear. "You should have left," Cole snapped. He grabbed the lantern and ran to the back door, shouting, "What do you want from us?" I ran after him, but by the time I got outside, he was gone. The snowstorm had started again, and all I could see were fresh footprints leading toward the trees. I followed them, calling his name over and over. The forest swallowed my voice. Then, ahead of me, I saw the glow of the lantern flickering, and beside it, the tall man standing over Cole's body. I froze. The man looked up, and for the first time, I saw his face clearly. It wasn't human. His eyes were black pits that seemed to pull in the light. His mouth stretched open slowly, revealing teeth that looked like shards of ice. He whispered something in a voice that sounded like the wind itself. "You walk on their graves." Then everything went white. I woke up hours later in the snow alone. The cabin was half buried. The storm had passed, and both Ryan and Cole were gone. There were no footprints, no sign of struggle, nothing. Only the silence of the mountains and the wind moving through the pines. I managed to stumble back to the main road and was rescued by a ranger. When I told him what happened, he went pale. He said there was an old legend among the locals about a man who died in those woods over 100 years ago. A trapper who murdered travelers and was cursed to wander the snow forever, guarding the mountains he once hunted in. They called him the Tall Watcher. The ranger looked me dead in the eyes and said, "If you ever camp in these mountains again, and you see him standing there, don't look, don't move, just leave." And now, every winter when the wind howls through the trees, I swear I still hear footsteps circling my cabin. Crunch, crunch, crunch.